Hi there, folks. This is Mitch Firestone with Precision Trading Labs, and I want to step you through some setups that we had today for some intraday trades that we ended up putting out to our subscribers. What you're looking at on the screen here is an Excel spreadsheet of a hot list that we generate every morning, which is essentially just your basic hot list of showing major gappers, bullish gappers that are up shortly after the open, and then showing also what their net change is from the prior close. And so this is the symbol list that we were looking at this morning. And so this thing was generated about 8 minutes after the market opened. This is showing 9:38 a.m. Eastern time. So of course that's 8 minutes after the open. So this was our starter list of candidates where we were going to hope to find some intraday setups for some bullish trades. And we ended up finding some candidates here. And so the ones marked out in red here, those are the candidates that we created some setups on. So there's this Vinco Ventures here, Checkpoint Therapeutics. And then, of course, because of the fact that the market itself was pretty much bleeding red in the morning, and it just accelerated, in fact, later in the day, the VIX, the applied volatility, of course, of the S&P 500 futures, the fear index. So this is, of course, an essentially a bullish instrument because, of course, that runs inverse to how the market trades. So, of course, implied volatility was going to be going up as the market was going down. So we chose that as a candidate as well. And then lastly, we found another candidate which is not on this list. We got it from another source, and I'll show you that trade as well. So at any rate, this is where we identified some candidates. And so these are all showing they were up anywhere from 7% and up to about 10% right off the open, all of which were trading very healthy volume. So they all represented decent candidates for setups for us. So let me show you what some of these setups look like here. So here is that CKPT here. And so what we were looking at, and this was shown, what is this? This was generated a little after 10 a.m., so about 35 minutes into the session off of a 3-minute chart here. And so right here, here is your gap. In fact, it ended up gapping up here, pulled back, consolidated, and then we got this very bullish green candle here, a little pause, and then another one. And so for a variety of reasons, this particular pattern generally implies that a good percentage of the time, when we get a pullback here, there is still some upward price pressure that's in here. Essentially, demand is exceeding supply of shares at this particular within this particular zone, and we expect to catch a bounce when it pulls back into here. Okay, so that's what we were looking at here at 10:05. Okay, and so then later in the day, as we had to wait for the pullback, obviously. And then basically about, about an hour later or so, we did finally get the pullback into the zone. It did kind of go into the zone for a good hour and a half, and I guess it was kind of chewing up the leftover supply that was in there. But eventually, once it chewed that up, we ended up then getting a move up here, and then we had that nice little spike there. And so essentially, then this thing ran up to about 2.5 to 1. Meaning that in terms of this was a 10-cent zone between the stop and between our entry point and stop out. So the zone here was basically 10 cents, which means that for every 100 shares, we'd be risking a dime. Basically, for every 100 shares, we'd be risking a dime. So that would result in $10 per 100 shares. So if you wanted to basically have $100 worth of risk in the trade, you were allowed to trade 1,000 shares here. Okay, and so as a result, if you were to put on 100 shares, $100 worth of risk, and you held this to here, you would have made $250 or 250% off of your initial 2.5 times off of your initial risk. Okay, so that's basically what that particular trade looked like. Another one that we were looking at this morning was this DWAC. And this is one that we actually found through some other source. But again, price rallied here basically there was a little gap at the open. In fact, this actually gapped down at the open. But then we had this very bullish move up here, this little area of consolidation, and then notice this very, very bullish move out of here. That again indicates that essentially we had an exhaustion of sellers here, and we were waiting for a pullback here in order to then go long. And so this ladder here lays out our risk and reward here. Okay, and that's that same 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 that I showed you on the prior setup. So again, we're waiting for the pullback here, and so there is I had to compress the chart obviously here to fit everything in. But again, once we got that, we ended up getting the pullback. It dug a bit into the zone, and then relatively quickly, in the space of about a half an hour, price ran up to there, and basically that turned out to be a 3-to-1 trade. Okay, so that was that setup there. Because of the fact that the market was bleeding red this morning, we were actually relatively conservative, and we were pretty much shooting for 2-to-1 on all of our setups. We weren't looking for home runs today. You know, obviously there were certain days you can look at and you can get 5-to-1, 7-to-1, 10-to-1. This was not the day to do that if you were going to be going long. Okay, so that was that setup here. Another thing that we were looking at, of course, was the VIX, the implied volatility ETF. Okay, so again, naturally that spiked up at the open. We ended up having a pullback. Notice then we have that rather indecisive candle, and then notice then we have that bullish candle, okay, that spiked up, another pause, and then another bullish candle. And so as a result, once again, we were waiting for a pullback, which essentially meant that we were waiting for a little bit of a rally in the broad market in order to drive the VIX down back into this zone of demand. And then we would be looking for a bounce, and then we would basically be looking for a bounce out of that. And on the flip side, the market was expected to kind of do the mirror image of this. And so as a result, again, we're waiting for essentially the market to rally up. That would drive the VIX down here, and then we would get a bounce on the VIX here. Okay, so that we were looking at that just shortly before 10 a.m. So again, here's that initial setup on the VIX. Okay, I dropped this down to a 2-minute chart. I think the other one was 5 minutes, just to help to monitor this. We eventually then got the pullback here. It started to bounce. It went up a bit, then it pulled back again, and then we ended up catching the bounce again up to 200% or 2-to-1, and that's what we were looking for on that trade. Again, we didn't know what was going to go on here, so generally, again, we took sort of a conservative approach today. Okay, so there was a 2-to-1 trade on that, and then the last setup that we were looking at here is, let's see, this DWAC, and then the last one here is this BBIG here. Okay, so right here at the open, it gapped down just a bit. We got obviously that massive bullish candle here. It went up, and then notice right here we kind of dropped down, consolidated. We started to get this string of green candles here. And then on slightly escalating volume, you can even see I put down meh here. Wasn't really impressed with the volume here. You generally like to see more volume spike than that. But for other reasons, we thought that this was going to be a reasonable setup as well. So on this BBIG, that was the setup there. And then when the price actually did pull back here, we ended up starting to get the bounce here. We caught a bounce here. Unfortunately, we did not get out there. And in fact, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because this is part of our trade plan. We were shooting for 2-to-1 here. It did make it to 1-to-1 here. But it just never, it went no further. And when this thing pulled back into the zone, we just killed the trade once it drove into the zone. And I think we lost 3 or 4 cents on this. I think we pulled it back. We were going to let it go back to about $3. And that's exactly what it did. So we ended up pretty much, a small loss on this one. So at any rate, those were those 4 trades. So we basically had one that went to 3-to-1, another one that went to 2, and a couple of other ones they went to 2-to-1, and then this one essentially ended up as a break even. So at any rate, that's what I got. Thought you'd find it of interest, and I will catch you all next time. Take care.